I'm JJ Virgin, PhD dropout, sorry mom, turned 4-time New York Times bestselling author. Yes, I'm a certified nutrition specialist, fitness Hall of Famer, and I speak at health conferences and trainings around the globe. But I'm driven by my insatiable curiosity and love of science to keep asking questions, digging for answers, and sharing the information I uncover with as many people as I can. And that's why I created the Well Beyond 40 podcast to synthesize and simplify the science of health into actionable strategies to help you thrive. In each episode, we'll talk about what's working in the world of wellness, from personalized nutrition and healing your metabolism to healthy aging and prescriptive fitness. Join me on the journey to better health so you can love how you look and feel right now and have the energy to play full out at 100. All right, so today we're going to talk about the fact that women are not small men. You probably heard Dr. Stacy Sims talk about this. This is really fun, what happened here. So Tony Horton, and I'm sure you know who Tony Horton is. He is the creator of the biggest exercise program in America, P90X. So Tony Horton connected up with Dr. Mindy Pelz, who wrote Fast Like a Girl. Turns out Mindy Pelz had completely rearranged his workout to work for women. And they got together, and it was kind of like almond butter and dark chocolate. They put together a program for women. So we are going to be unpacking that today. We're going to be unpacking, what's the difference between how women should work out, how men should work out? How can you take those ideas and put it into what you're doing right now? Why variety matters, why challenging yourself matters. We're going to unpack all of that with Tony. I've got him in the house, and it's really funny. I'm not going to tell you, but his name had just come up in conversation. So you'll hear why his name came up in conversation when I intro him and tell him about that. But let me tell you a little bit about Tony. He is a world-class motivational speaker and the author of top-selling books, Bring It, Crush It, and The Big Picture. He's been on loads of TV programs as a fitness and lifestyle expert, and he has a huge celebrity clientele that he's worked with over the years. Tom Petty, Usher, Bruce Springsteen, Allison Janney, Octavia Spencer, on and on and on. Stevie Nicks, Billy Idol, the list goes on. And of course, the creator of P90X. And so it's been very fun to have this conversation, to hear kind of the unpacking, what P90X is, what he's learned over the years, how he's changed his mind over the years, being in fitness 35 years plus. So I will be right back with Tony Horton to talk about what we need to think about as women, perimenopause, postmenopausal, how we need to work out differently, and how to apply this to your program so that you can get the best results without getting injured. I'll be right back with Tony Horton. Stay with me. Tony Horton, welcome to Well Beyond 40.
JJ, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's super fun to have you here because literally I was out to dinner a couple weeks ago and your name came up.
Oh.
And I was with all your pals. So I was out to dinner with Mark Sisson and his wife and Shalene Johnson and her hubby. Yes. And we were like, the only person missing here is Tony Horton.
Oh. God, if you were only in Malibu, I could have just driven up the street and hung out, but you guys are all the way in Florida, so.
I know. Well, you got to move to Florida with the rest
for
of
that crew, for you three and family, I would have flown out for that.
I know. And then periodically we get together with our buddies over at Mind Body Green too. So we've got quite a wellness contingency now in Florida. There you go.
Well, thanks for helping the folks of Florida. That's a beautiful
All right.
thing.
Well, this is going to be an interesting conversation today for the guy that created P90X, the hardest workout out there. We're going to talk about women and fitness, hormones and cycling. I love having guys talk about periods. It's super fun.
So much. Yeah, I like to talk about your first bleed of the month. That's my number one
not
topic.
Not awkward at all.
By the way, this whole process, everything we're going to be talking about was an education for me. I mean, I was in the dark until I met Dr. Mindy Pels, and then I woke up to a lot of things. So
well, we've had Dr. Mindy on the show. We love Dr. Mindy. We're big fans there. So, I think that's a dynamic partnership you've got there. But I also love the fact that, first of all, we've been in fitness. Like I've been doing this for 40 years. Do I have you beat, or are you in the
you
same?
had me beat. You had me beat. I think it's 35. I'm on 35 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, when I first got in, there was no talk about hormones and exercise. You look at, right? So much stuff, there's still so much to learn. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I know less now than ever. Like there's still way more out there to learn. The more we go in, the more research there is. So it's going to be fun. It's fun to unpack it. I love that you're still in there learning. But here you are. You've been in fitness now for a long time.
Decades and decades.
Why did you decide to tackle this crazy subject of women, hormones, and exercise?
Pure serendipity, really, kismet, whatever you want to call it. I do these masterminds, not really a podcast, but I had these mastermind sessions, and somebody said, "Hey, I've just finished reading Fast Like a Girl, Dr. Mindy's book, and I'm going to try to get her." Somebody on my team said, "I'd love to get her on a call with you because she's got an interesting story about when she went through P90X." And so, we were just sort of chatting about the book and a lot of the research that she's been doing, and maybe she's spoken about this on your show as well, is that when she did P90X, she realized the schedule was not well made for gals. You know what I mean? And so we used to, back in the day, I was always saying, hey, if you're a gal, whether you're perimenopausal, perimenopausal, postmenopausal, you know what I mean? Go by how you feel, like back off on chest and back and do lighter reps or stop halfway through, or maybe substitute that with maybe a yoga or a stretch routine. We didn't really have any kind of a mindfulness component back in those days. And a lot of women would meander the way through it and try to recover the best that they could. And their P90X became P120X. You know what I mean? That was just sort of the way that a lot of them got through it. And, look, one size does not fit all. You got a lot of type A former athletes who maybe had 10, 15 pounds to lose. It used to be former softball players or gymnasts. And they would figure it out. But the average gal that was like in her 40s with 3 kids and a busy schedule, it was more of a harder journey for them. So what Mindy did was she saw the schedule the way it was based on her research. She just said, I'm not going to do chest and back here. I'm going to put yoga there because it's between day 10 and day 15. Then I'm going to pump it up. I'm going to put all my chest and back and shoulders and arms and plyo sessions in this 5-day period of time. And then as I come out of heavy testosterone hormonal flow, then I would, calm things down, not where I had it in the schedule, but where she felt worked best for her. And, she came away feeling good, lost the weight, got strong, unscathed, and then started sharing that with kind of her friends and fans, like, hey, if you're doing P90X, don't follow Tony's schedule.
For those that don't know, I just realized we're talking about P90X, and there may be some, I doubt it, but you never know. There might be some people listening who are like, what is P90X?
Yeah, there's about 5 of them out there.
Yeah, so let's share those origins of what is P90X.
P90X. Well, P90X took me out of my apartment after 21 and a half years so that I could have a life. But, I was training Billy Idol, Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen, Annie Lennox, Octavia Spencer, half of Fleetwood Mac, Stephen Stills. I was keeping rock and roll alive and going pretty good for a while. And that was a pretty good gig. Plus, I was doing a lot of on camera. I was a young actor, and I had little parts in TV shows and movies and commercials and whatnot. And these two things were happening separately. But what unbeknownst to me, that at one point I was going to meet a guy by the name of Carl Deichler, who would work out with me, and he liked my sense of humor, and I was silly, and I had tons of variety. We're martial arts one day, and yoga the next, and weightlifting, and then just HIIT training and ta. He goes, dude, you're not just stuck in the yoga mode. You're not just stuck in the weightlifting mode. You're not stuck in the cardio mode. And this kept him and a lot of my clients, because you're training celebrity types, and their management has got eyeballing you. So I was just trying to keep everybody interested. I'm trying to keep people from getting bored, injured, and plateau. And it seemed to work based on that basic thing. And so one day Carl and I shot a couple programs that did okay, and then he said, hey, what's the next thing? And I said, let's chill out a little bit. And he said, no, let's crank it up. I went, okay. So he gave me about 6 months, and I did a lot more research. I added some Kempo martial arts to it, which wasn't in the original Power 90. And so we created this thing with the hope that we'd sell a couple 100,000 and break even. And, we sold several million of it. And it's just it's 12 workouts, each one different from the next, with modifications and powering. We call it powering down now on PowerSync 60, but we just gave the hard version, we gave the in-between version, and we gave the simple version. So as the viewer, they could see the three different versions. And, it was up to them at that point to interpret what it is that they felt like they needed based on what they were watching. And, and still today, I mean, I met a Secret Service agent, this guy, Jim, who said he extended his career by 12 years. And he was the guy right next to, Bill Clinton, George Bush, Joe Biden. I mean, he was the guy. And he had all these presidents doing bits of P90X, which is crazy. And I still to this day, Tony, I've done it 50 times. I've done it 30 times. I mean, it's nuts that people just keep on doing this program.
Yeah.
Even though I've created new ones. So if you don't know what P90X is, it was, some people say it's the #1 fitness program ever.
Well, let's go with that. And what does P90X stand for?
Power 90 Extreme. So there was a program before called Power 90. And so it was a 3-month program. And there was different schedules based on the week and or the month. And then we just took that and we turned it up to 11. And we called it P90X. And so instead of calling it Power 90 Extreme, P90X rolled off the tongue a little bit easier. And we created this fake thing. Arnold always gives like, hey, Arnold, what do you think about muscle confusion? It's stupid. There's no such thing as muscle. That's my Arnold. Thank you. Miro Week. And what muscle confusion was a made-up term to explain the fact that you're going to be doing something different every day. So Monday through Saturday, most people took Sunday off, you were doing a different workout. Some of them were resistance, some of them were hypertrophy, some of them were yoga, some of them were stretching. And then you would do that for 3 weeks. And then you had a recovery week in week 4, which was just some of those routines more mellow. And then the second month would kick in and then we'd turn up the volume. And then the third month would kick in and we'd turn up the volume. And, Kathy McDonald, just a random woman that I met along the way, I lost 125 pounds doing a program that she customized for herself, much like Mindy did. And she's kept it off ever since. And, this is 15 years later. Jeremy Yost, we used to go on QVC with me because his story was 180-pound weight loss. He lost what I weigh now plus, and I've been to 63 military bases around the world. You see all these here? These represent all the military bases from Kosovo to South Korea to Japan, up and down the California coast, East Coast of the entire military. I met Colonel Stephen Shepro, who actually retired as a 2-star general. When he was in Afghanistan and Iraq, he made a huge tent, put up a giant screen, and people were doing P90X 24/7. People from Turkey were doing it. People from everywhere who, it was a giant base. And then he went to Camp, not Pendleton, but Camp, what's the base outside of DC where they fly in Marine One and everything else? There were 4 tennis courts. So he tore them all down and he made 400 people at once do P90X there. So it was just one of these things that became part of the lexicon. I'm apparently the only civilian that's taught workouts at the Pentagon.
So, what's very cool is I remember hearing about this piece of it, and then we're going to actually talk about some things that can apply to you, but we're going through a little history.
Right. We're going into Tony's history. We're going
back. There will be some applicable things coming next. What you did interesting here is during that time when P90X launched, everything else out there was like, oh, you can get this in 6 minutes. Oh, this will be easy. And what you did instead was you said, no, actually, right? This is going to be hard. You're going to work hard. Mm-hmm. And I remember hearing, oh, that's not going to work. Well, I think it worked. And it was also...
Well, it wasn't going to sell. They knew it was going to work. But why would the average American bust their butt 6 days a week and eat vegetables and stuff all the time? And the thing was, a lot of people who had a general sense of common sense, they would flip channels and go, well, that's BS and that's BS and that's BS. And then they'd stop and look at this thing and go, damn, that has got to work. I mean, do I have the cojones to do it? And we sold as many or more to women than we did men. And it was, like you train hard. I train hard. Mark Sisson trains hard. Shalene trains hard. All the people that I trained, all those rockers, these were not people who liked, except for Bruce, he was the one that liked to train hard. But I turned Tom Petty from a human noodle to one of the most striated, vascular cats you ever saw. And he had the best tour of his life. I mean, he went out there and 60-city tour and crushed it because he had the lung capacity, because he had the strength, because when you exercise, it's norepinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, brain-derived neurotropic factor, cannabinoids, these things that are waiting inside of your skull for you to move. And Tom moved, less cigarettes, more movement, and his voice was great, and his stamina was great. And so then the phone rang off the hook. Then Billy Idol called, and then everybody called.
Well, and here's the thing, we are never better than when we're challenged. And when you learn that you can work out and do hard things, you learn that you can do hard things in life, right?
Well, one leads to the other. I mean, fitness and eating right's the foundation to becoming the badass that you can be if you want to be that person.
There you go. That's quotable. So the other thing, besides bringing out this thing of like, don't be afraid of hard work, the other thing that you brought into this, because since we've been in fitness a long time, there was always the warring factions. There were the gym people, there was the aerobic class people, there were the yoga people who are really it's almost like the vegans and the carnivores now, where the yoga people and the weight room people and all the warring. And instead, you brought it all in. Now let's talk about variety, because I think it is underrated in the world of fitness. And, it's like you look at exercise and go, here's an exercise prescription, but exercise could be yoga, it could be Tai Chi, it could be walking, it could be, HIIT training, it could be any of these.
Could be Peloton, could be, it could be, martial arts, it could be boxing training, and the thing is a lot of trainers sort of specialize. I think that's sort of the case still today. There are yoga instructors and there are martial arts instructors and boxing instructors and bodybuilders. And then segments of society will be kind of drawn to one of those. And hopefully they'll stick with it because they enjoy just the yoga. They enjoy going to the Peloton class. And I just said, but there's always going to be, not always, but there's always burnout and there's always injury and there's always the plateau effect, which is what we're trying to avoid. And if you're working on your weaknesses, which is why P90X was created, which is the reason why I created Power 4 and Power Sync 60, is you're going to do some things that you're familiar with and things that you like and things that you're pretty good at. And we're going to allow you to do that the best you can do it. But we're also going to add this other stuff where you're going to stink. You know what I mean? And what that does is it gives you this learning curve that doesn't exist with the stuff that you already know how to do. So the learning curve, which is activating more muscles, ligaments, tendons, right? A little bit of brain power. You're working on balance. You're working on speed. You're working on range of motion. You're working on, things that you don't work on if you're just doing the stuff that you're doing. Right. And so your body's just going to respond to that. And there's less likelihood that you're not going to get hurt because you're not repeating the same stuff over and over again, expecting to see some kind of fabulous result. And some people want to get bigger and some people want to get smaller. Some people want to gain weight. Some people want to lose weight. Some people want to be more flexible and some don't want to be less flexible. But so that was the point. And all those rockers and movie stars and TV stars were guinea pigs. And it was mostly, back in those days, I just added the variety because I could tell, because I was just doing cardio and weights, like most people still do, cardio and weights. And you could see that they weren't getting the results that they wanted. You could see them start to get bored. And then there'd be those shoulder injuries that I would like, okay, let's take a couple of days off or put ice on it or here's some balm or something. So I just realized if I just added more stuff, everybody I trained had a heavy bag. Everybody I trained had to learn yoga. Everybody I trained, was doing certain body parts on certain days, and we were mixing it up and changing it up after 3 weeks all the time. And so they got out of their rut, you know what I mean? And almost all of them, except for a couple who I couldn't help because they just, they would show up in their boxers with a lamb shank in their hand and go,
I know there's only so much you can do. I remember doing a diet recall with a gal and she goes, well, I'll just show you my refrigerator. All she had in her refrigerator was champagne.
Ah,
I'm like, huh.
That's very festive. She's a very festive.
Yes. I was like, that's not fruit. That's not counting. Yeah. So, you can't help everybody. They have to, the thing with fitness is they actually have to do.
They kind of gotta want it. And the other thing too that I did, JJ, was be the tortoise, not the hare. All right. Keep your expectations down. Keep them down, show up. 80% of life is showing up. I think Woody Allen said that, but we don't want to give him too much credit for anything. But the other 20%, my opinion is, how do you feel while you're doing what you're doing? Can you push a little bit harder? Do you need to back off? I was never a drill sergeant. I was never yelling 2 more, 3 more, you can do it. I was always asking everybody questions about what was their state of mind? What was their form? Like if I saw form go bad, we're done with this. We're moving on to the next thing, or the workout's over, even though there's more stuff to do. Just paying attention, just being observant to what they were doing so in the long term. And I was always given 3 and 4 months when I had a rocker getting ready for a tour, or if I had I had Sean Connery getting him ready for Medicine Man way back in the day, and he's like, I'm not used to I feel like I'm kind of taking it easy. I go, dude, I got you for 4 months. Trust me, it's going to get harder. Don't worry. But right now, your range of motion sucks. You don't have any stamina. So I'm not going to beat you up because you're not really ready,
So here you are doing all of that. And now I was like looking at this going, okay, Tony, so now you've decided to tackle women's cycles and exercising around their cycles. Are you a crazy man?
I know. Why did I think of such a, I had that experience of a lot of gals who never finished P90X, and a lot of women that it just seemed like they were getting too sore in all the wrong places, too much in the joints and not enough in the muscles. And the thing is, I can tell you to back off. I can tell you to take a break here. I mean, our big thing was, hey, if you can't do this, hit the pause button and just get some water, towel off, come back in if you can. If you feel like after that you can't. But again, I'm not in the room with people. I like right. Hell with you, Tony. I'm going to keep going to the end. And so a lot of people got burnt out because they weren't really listening to what I was doing. Their ego, right? Their ego got in the way, and their ego destroyed the journey. And that's just too bad. And that still happens today. And so, lucky me, I had this conversation with Dr. Mindy Pell. She was on my mastermind, my mastermind session. And I don't know who she was. She wrote a couple of books, and she seems pretty smart. And some of my team said, you should talk to this girl. And then by the end of our conversation, our masterminds are about an hour, she said, we were talking about hormones and how she did P90X and why she did it differently and how she got the results she got. And she didn't get burnt out. And she felt like she lost more weight and gained more muscle because she rearranged the schedule that I designed. I mean, we had a get lean schedule. We had a get buff schedule. We had the standard schedule. We gave some of that a little bit of variation, but she completely changed everything around. And she said, I don't know. I mean, my wish would be to do a program with you based on my research for all these women that have been frustrated for so long and not getting the results that they want. 9 months later, we were shooting it. I mean, it was just like, oh my God. I mean, it was such a wake-up call for me. Now, getting into the weeds about pre, post, peri.
Oh, I'm going to ask you every cycle question right now. Let's talk luteal.
I just said, okay, Mindy, here are the routines. Here's how I'm going to power down, power up. So we added this power down, power up thing, like this very distinguished. This is going to be harder. This is going to be easier. What stage of your cycle are you in? Is it day 10 to 15? You need to be over here. If it's day 20 to 30, you need to be doing that. And she was on the set for me, explaining to me, with cue cards, here's what you want to say now. You know what I mean? And so we worked together and we created this 11 workout routine. We had 2 test groups. We had 90 in one and 100 plus in the other. And I'm talking women in their 70s whose husbands are like, why do you keep doing this stuff? You're 70 years old. You're going to age the way you age. You haven't had a period in decades. And why do you bother? Because a lot of these women were Dr. Mindy Pell's fans, probably a lot of the same fans that you have. And I spoke to a woman with tears in her eye on a Zoom call who was hoping to lose 5, lost 17 pounds, never felt better. She just had tons of energy. She didn't feel broken anywhere in the process. And, and then I said, what does your husband say? Well, he's still a curmudgeon. I couldn't change his personality, but he was proud of her, and so, and a lot of stories like that, based on, what to do on certain days based on your hormonal fluctuations. And a lot of women are completely clueless still. I mean, men are especially clueless. And on top of that, I can't tell you how much of an education it was for these women's partners. Hey, buddy, I'm struggling here because of the science behind what Dr. Mindy Pell's in the program that Tony created. So a lot of husbands are like, oh, I just thought you were being cranky. No, dude.
Careful.
Wake the F up, because this is important to understand this stuff, to understand what your gal's going through. And the fact that she's putting in the time and energy and effort into something maybe for the first time that's working, then, it should be full support system.
I love this. So I'm going to, when I was in graduate school, literally there was zero about hormones. The very first book I found on it was Exercise Endocrinology, was like, a decade after I graduated. I was like, wow, finally. But I will say, 2 people have helped me a lot here. Elisa Vitti, who actually was one who coined the term cycle syncing, and then Stacey Sims, Dr. Stacey Sims, who's been doing amazing work around women and hormones. And I'm just so thrilled to see you 2 team up. Like, what a dream team, and bring this out to have women understand that, you are not, like as Stacey Sims says, you're not small men, and that we have to do things differently. Now, we are not in that period of periods where we're cycle syncing. Now you've got women, and I think the most challenging time of all, and I'm sure you're like going, oh gosh, is that time from when you get into perimenopause where now things are all over the board.
Yeah, you're not one, you're not the other.
Yeah, it's way, way easier. You get into postmenopausal,
Mm-hmm.
it's so much easier because now everything is stable. It's like the sea is calm.
Right.
But when you're going through perimenopause, I now live here, as you know, in Florida, and I'll go out to paddleboard and I'll look at my canal and it looks like the sea's calm, and I go out and paddleboard and I get out in the bay and it's like, what happened? That's perimenopause. Out there, it's like crazy waves. And then all of a sudden it will go calm. You're like, oh, okay. And then the waves hit again. So how do you have a woman navigate that specific time period where there's not it's day 10. It's like that all's thrown out the window.
Well, like I even have it in front of me. This is a printed copy of all the instructions that women get pre-post peri, right? There's 4 different phases. There's the power phase, there's the manifestation phase, there's the nurture phase. And so if you're perimenopausal, then you have a very specific start and finish days based on, I wish Dr. Mindy was sitting here next to me. She could
Mindy!
Mindy, where are you?
We need you.
Calling Dr. Mindy. But so, 3 different phases, 3 different calendars. And the other thing too that I created, which was part of it, is, and look, even if whether you're pre-peri or post, there's a lot going on in our lives. There's a lot of stress in our life. There's poor sleep, lack of hydration. Maybe you're not getting the vitamins and minerals and nutrients that you need to be able to fuel your body. So my job was to create. On some of these workouts, there are 4 different people behind me, minimum 3, sometimes 4. And, between Dr. Minnie and I, we would say, hey, you're perimenopausal. You're gonna follow Ashley here. Ashley's your girl. She's in your shoes. She knows what to do. She's the one to look at. And by the way, Ashley, because she's hired for the gig, she's gonna do this whole workout. But maybe you're not. So if what she's doing isn't quite right, check out Sarah, because Sarah is doing a super modified version based on how much, how you feel, how much energy you have, because you are all over the place in general. So you might do on a Tuesday, one week, you might be following Ashley. On the next week, you might be following Sarah. And maybe if, based on all the other things that are happening on your life, whatever, you just, you flew from the East Coast to the West Coast. I don't know. There's all kinds of different issues that are creating a certain amount of stress. Then you're going to use one of these stop options. And so a stop option was what I try to tell people to do in P90X, but half the time they wouldn't because their egos are in the way, like I said earlier. So listen to these variables right now based on what I'm saying to you. Do you need to stop here, or can you keep going based on A, B, and C? And people would have to make a decision. And so a lot of the two test groups, a lot of the women, especially the perimenopausal women, are like, yeah, sometimes all the way through, I got through both stop options. I felt great. But the fact that you gave me this option to stop, and of course, I would say, hey, fast forward to the cool down. I don't want you to miss out on that. I want you to bring your heart rate down properly, not just walk off and take a break or just skip it. And then sometimes they would stop at the first stop option. Sometimes they would stop at the second stop option. And with all those different choices, they were able to to get kind of where they wanted to go. Because the idea here is you're doing this routine, and how do you feel afterward, the hour afterward? How do you feel the rest of the day? What was your sleep like? And how do you feel the following day? And those are simple questions that you need to ask yourself every time you work out, no matter where you are, no matter where your hormones are. And you can ask those simple questions of yourself and say, but when in the P90X days, people would naturally go, oh my God, I'm exhausted. I'm wasted. I can't even walk. I can't even sit on the toilet. And then here's this chest and back routine I got to do the next day. And with the powering down, with the powering up, and with the stop options, women are like, I'm ready to go. And it kept happening day after day. This is a 5-day-a-week program. It's not 3, it's not 4, it's not 6 either. It gives you a couple of days off. But we also talk about active recovery. Hey, if you want to do the mindfulness practice today, great day to do it, even though it's a day off. If you want to go for a walk, we suggest that. If you want to do my 10-minute morning yoga routine, which is to kind of get the kinks out instead of 3 cups of coffee, maybe a better option. And there's also a diet component. I mean, we get very clear about, what causes inflammation and what doesn't. So if you're taking, you can be following this thing to a T. And if you're eating inflammatory foods, then you're kind of fighting the process. So, again, I'm not sitting down with people breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks in between and seeing what they're eating, but hopefully they're making better food choices. And the ones that did, who followed the stop options and the powering down when they needed it and ate better, got all the way through this program without a glitch, which was fun to see.
I love that you're looking at it like high level here. We've got hormones, but we also have stress, of course, stress hormones. We also have things like how hard did you work out the day before and did you adequately recover? And I think the big picture is listen to your body. Just because that workout says to do X, Y, Z, you don't, and what I always say is, I've never regretted going to the gym. And usually when you get into it, but you kind of listen, you go, okay, well, I'm only going to do 30 minutes today because I just don't feel like I quite have the energy. I love the stop options. That's fantastic.
I don't know why no one ever thought of that before.
It's so obvious.
Where's that been our whole life? You can't go to a gym and there's a yoga class or there's I'm going to walk out at the halfway point. Well, you could, but how many people do when they feel like they're toast, and that's just, and that also gets people in the room.
Yes.
I'm going to stop. Most of the stop options were 15 or 20 minutes in. There's not a single workout that was more than 50 minutes. And they would go, okay. I'm in the room. Tony said I'll have to put my gear on first. If the gear's on, I'm going to go in there. And at the 15-minute mark, they feel alive. They feel refreshed. The dopamine, serotonin, all the good stuff is already starting to move through their head after the first 5 minutes. And then they're just in a better headspace. And so they sometimes go to the next stop option and go all the way to the end. Quite often.
Well, do you remember, so you must remember this because you're 35 years in. Back when I was in graduate school, the whole thing was if you couldn't work out for at least 30 minutes, don't bother because you wouldn't get into the fat burning zone. I was like, all right.
Oh my God. I mean, it was in the NASM book when you were getting certification.
Yeah. Can we apologize to everybody for this ridiculousness?
Yes, JJ and I apologize to all.
We are so sorry for our entire field. But, you think about it and go, 15 minutes is better than no minutes.
Yeah.
30 minutes is going to be. So the great thing is get in and get going. And if after 15 minutes you don't feel refreshed, hey, you gave it your shot, go meditate or something.
Yeah. I mean, 15 always kicks the crap out of 0. I mean, when my wife and I were in Europe, we ate all of Europe. We ate all of Italy. We ate all of France. We ate all of London. We ate a bunch of food at Stonehenge. We ate a lot of food, but we were walking everywhere. And we got our workouts in, not as consistently. And I came home 8 pounds lighter. She came home 6 pounds lighter. And all we did was walk around because we were just, look at that. Let's go over there. Should we take a cab? No, let's walk to the next restaurant,
right.
Half a mile. And that's it. It just wasn't strenuous. I didn't feel all that tired. I mean, I'm walking, maybe a sore toe. But other than that, I mean, it was amazing. But most of the time, we're doing exactly what you and I are doing right now. We're sitting on our butt. And we're at work, and we don't even do the basics. And so, and this is a version of that. Hey, look, don't kill yourself. Get your first 15 minutes in, see how you feel. Keep going or don't.
What recommendations you have on the postmenopausal side? Is there anything that you shifted differently there?
Well, for postmenopausal gals, you would start on the day one calendar. Like if you're perimenopausal or you're premenopausal. A lot of it has to do with your first bleed and how many 7 days after your bleed and when you would start. But since there is no bleed, you just, a lot of gals are following the moon cycle. If I could read it to you here, if you're not having a cycle and you'd like to sync your cycle to the moon, you will simply calculate how many days today is from the last new moon, and that will be your first day. For example, if today is day 7 after the last new moon, you will start with the 7-day workout today. You'll start with day 7 of the workout today. And this is all based on Mindy's science. A lot of women who were postmenopausal and followed the moon cycle, it was perfect for them. They just thought that worked well. So
I'm just going to do a big shout out for everybody who is in the peri stage. Wait till you get over the hump because it's awesome. It's like, I think probably for a lot of women, when they hit into postmenopause, they can probably work out more like a man does.
Yeah.
Things are a lot it's just so much smoother sailing. So if you're in Perry, I know you have a guide that we're going to be providing to everybody, the Women's Guide to Syncing Fitness to Your Hormone Cycle. So yeah, we're going to give that out. That will be in the show notes. So we have that for everybody here. The program that you two put together is called
Power Sync 60.
Power Sync 60.
So 60 days, syncing your hormonal fluctuations to a program that is customized based on where you are in your
Fabulous. And I'm going to put everything at jjvirgin.com/PowerSync60, which will have a link to that. I'll link to Dr. Mindy's. I think we might have done 2 podcasts, but I know we did one podcast around Fast Like a Girl. And then we'll put this to the guide as well. I still have a couple.
Oh, that'd be great. And then folks some people are, they really like to get into the weeds. Like, I want to know the science behind this. And other people like, just tell me what to do on certain days and I'll do it because I trust you to. You know what I mean? That's kind of me. Like, yeah, you're in really good shape and you seem like you have a lot of energy and you sleep really well and you're happy a lot. Yeah, I'm going to follow you. You know what I mean? And that's how I live a little bit.
Okay, you ready for some questions? A couple plus 40 plus brilliance. How old are you?
65.
65. All right. So here we go.
Going to be 66 soon.
I'm about to be 60 wonderful.
Okay. Can I borrow that? Yeah.
Well, when you're 70 wonderful, you can.
I like to say I was born 13 years after World War II. So just give you a sense of how. But you know what? Here's the crazy thing. I mean, whether male, female. I mean, I have a lot of friends that have, who've joined me almost every day here at the, male and female. And I just said, hey, man, eat this, don't eat that anymore. Train like this, don't train like that anymore. And you can see they're getting younger. Like, they're in so many ways. Their skin is improving, their energy is improving, their sleep's improving, their sex drive's improving. And it requires knowing a lot of stuff and doing it all the time. Like, people say, Tony, how often do I? All the time. Like breathing and eating and going to work and paying bills. This is a thing that you have to do all the time, or if you do it sporadically, you're gonna end up with exercise bipolar disorder. You're gonna feel good and feel bad.
Oh, that's funny. That is very funny. Yeah, it's like, if you knew there was something that would make you feel great, that you would basically, de-age and think straight, have great energy, why wouldn't you do it all the time? Like,
because everything else feels really good and it tastes really good. It doesn't require any effort, and that's what everybody else is doing. So I'm going to go jump on that train. But they look down at themselves and they see the escalator's out and I got 2 suitcases. Climbing up that set of stairs is like Mount Everest, So it depends. You have to. I'm text training 3 people right now. 2 of them are in entertainment. Another one is a big real estate guy. Every day we just text. I go, did you have the alcohol or not? Did you move or not? And then I get the report back. One guy's in Mexico. He loves tequila. Day 6, no tequila. He goes, everybody else is drunk and having fun, but I feel amazing. So it's all choice. It's all choice.
It is a choice. Growing up, I have a mom who just passed at 93 and a dad who had a horrific, long slow death from cancer at 70. And I watched the 2 of them and the way they live their life. My mom, super active, ate healthy, was doing all of her own housework, living up and down flights of stairs up until 93, totally independent. Dad, hypertension, ate garbage, didn't work out. It was like, I watched that whole thing and I went, oh, aging well is a choice. I think I'll choose what mom did.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you choose takes more effort, more discipline, more willpower, more effort. You got to surround yourself with the right kind of people. You got to make completely different choices. But the cool thing is you are the source. You're not using some temporary fix that's the source outside of you: alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, fat, sugar, salt, and chemicals in the food. You're making different choices, different outcome, better life.
Right. And once you are used to the choice, you're no longer making the choice. It's just habitual. So it becomes super easy. It's not even a thought process.
Yeah, the transformation's a bit of a bitch, right? That first month or 6 weeks. But after a while, if you're consistent in those early days, it's like, oh, this is who I am now. This is easy now.
Just one win at a time.
There's all these things that you can do. That's the great thing about exercise. Exercise is just not about the weight loss. It's about who you can be going forward after you get yourself in a decent amount of shape. And the food is just your medicine or your disease-causing mistakes. It's really one of those too. So.
Okay, are you ready for these questions?
Okay, I'm ready now.
Okay, now you're ready? You're really ready. Okay. What is one urban legend out there in the health and wellness space about getting older that you want to bust?
Whoa, boy, I got like 10 in my head. Well, the urban legend meaning if everybody dies at the same rate, have the same issues, the same diseases, the same problems, the same lack of motion, the terrible balance where they fall and hit the curb and go in the ICU, and then 2 weeks later they're in the ground. I hope I'm answering this right. I think people who think that weight training and cardio is enough, so that even though they're doing something, they're scheduling something, there's effort involved, not enough. Not enough. You got to get out of the weights and the cardio routine, and you got to start working on your speed, your balance, and your range of motion. Because ROM and like moving quickly. There was a thing in the New York Times. Most people in this country after the age of 30 will never run fast ever again.
I know. Isn't that crazy? They'll never sprint again.
They'll never sprint again.
Never, like at 30 plus, never sprint again. So I'm glad you brought up the speed and power, because it's the biggest thing we lose.
Yeah. And the balance as well. I mean, I have 2 slack lines. When I go skiing, I ski on one leg as much as I can. I mean, I work on balance all the time because that's what usually goes south. And then people are working out, but as they get older and older, they're not working on flexibility. They're not doing yoga. They're not doing Pilates. They're not working on all this ROM stuff. Mm-hmm. Is that the range of motion gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So they're in the shower and they turn and reach for the shampoo and they blow out their neck, just because they don't have that either. So, one of the things is, and that's part of the variety. That's part of that's part of all the stuff that we need to do. And a lot of times that feels overwhelming. Like I'm doing these 2 things really well. Why don't I got to add this, and this? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I mean, if you want to avoid a lot of the issues that people run into if they don't do those things. And it's easy. You buy a slack line, or you go to a yoga class where you're in tree pose or warrior 3 or whatever it is. I mean, if you want to preserve your youth, then you have to keep, as you get older, because the clock's going to continue to move in that direction, then you got to be curious and you got to be open-minded and you got to be okay with not being good at these new things. And that to me, when I wasn't good at something, I'm out. And now I'm doing animal flow now, not good at it. I'm in crab, I'm in beast, I'm in frogger, I'm on the frown, like a little kid spinning around, not good at it yet, but I love that I stink. Because I can, the more I do, the better I get, and I don't judge it. I was like, oh, I'm not good at this yet. Cool. Let's see how this goes.
I love that. I've made a new rule. Like, how they always say, don't be the smartest person in the room. I'm like, what I want to be is, I don't want to be the youngest or the fittest. I want to go into that room, right? Like I'll go into a yoga class with all the yogis, and they're half my age, or I go into a HIIT class with, that's what I go after, where I'm like going, okay, I'm going to suck at this, but it pushes me. So yes.
Yeah. I mean, be enthusiastic about being bad. What I mean? Failing is another word for failing is awesome. Like, oh, and you're not really technically failing, because if you're paying attention, you're learning. And if you're learning, you're growing and transforming. And so it's part of your story. It's part of your journey. It's like, oh man, I used to be so terrible at this for so long, and I kept working on it. And now I'm pretty good. And I notice all the changes that are happening to me physically, mentally, and emotionally as a result of getting outside of my comfort zone.
Good one. Okay. One final one.
All right.
What is, a ritual or a habit that you've incorporated into your life since turning, well, we're well beyond 40, so 40 plus?
I've made a very severe, massive shift in my diet. I feel like inflammation. Well, yeah, inflammation comes from overtraining and hurting yourself and your whatever. But inflammation also comes from just what you put in your mouth. So I'm pure vegan. Don't tell Mark Sisson that, because he'll just hate it. You know what I mean? But I don't have any more knee pain. I don't have any more shoulder pain. I sleep like a baby. I'm strong as I've ever been. No wheat, no soy, no corn, no dairy. No crackers, no chips, no cookies, no popcorn, no pretzels. no alcohol. I haven't had alcohol in 25 years. I mean, I eat as clean as I can. And I noticed that inflammation is not gone, but I used to get Synvisc and PRP in my knees about every year, every 15 months, just because I ski hard and I do a lot of plyometrics, and my knees would always ache. I started eating more vegetables and cut out the chicken and the fish and I don't need the injections anymore.
Well, to be clear, you cut out gluten and dairy, like it's hard to know with those ones which one did it.
I mean, I don't have celiac, but
I'm not a gluten fan, as you know. Like gluten to me, and who knows, is it the gluten or the glyphosates? Which one is it? We know gluten creates leaky gut. So
right. And which I didn't know it. I mean, that's partly why I ended up with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, because I was stressed out of my mind and I was eating whole foods, just the wrong ones, So for me,
there you go. Well, I feel like as we age, we don't have the margin of error that we had in our 20s.
That is so well said, girlfriend. That's exactly. When you're in your 20s, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
And then you go run a half a marathon the next day. And then, you'd party that night. Not at 65. I'm just thrilled my hair still grows out this color. It's some kind of a miracle. The beard has died, but don't tell anybody.
I won't say a word. Hey, and look at all the hair you've got. You got lots of hair and it's black. I wish my hair wasn't having to be colored, but
my parents had mostly brown hair in their 70s and 80s. So, I don't know, just a little
thank them. I don't know, the pandemic. Well, my son's accident kind of took my hair to gray, and then the pandemic, I discovered what color it really was. I was like, well, I didn't need to know that.
Yeah, but whatever you're doing looks great. So the heck with it, man. I mean, do what you got to do so you feel good when you're looking in the mirror, and when it's all about building confidence.
Yeah.
It's starting though. Look, there it is, JJ.
But you know what? Here's the thing that's so unfair with men versus women is, why is a little salt and pepper? Like my husband has salt and pepper hair, and it is so sexy. Salt and pepper on me, not sexy. So there you go. That's one I can't explain. But
you can still be fit, healthy, and happy regardless.
Yes, exactly. So this has been awesome. It's super fun to catch up with you. I'm going to remind everybody that I'm putting all the show notes, your guide, Mindy's interview, all at jjvirgin.com/CycleSync60. And I am looking forward to when you come show up and hang out with all of us. And
knowing that you're all there is an incentive. It'll be fun. I mean, we'll just whatever. We'll work out together. We'll go out and eat some vegetables together. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, we'll have the protein, and you can have all the vegetables.
But by the way, in Jackson Hole, when there's elk medallions on the menu,
have them. I'm not telling. All right. Well, maybe we could all meet there then. That'd be fun.
Yeah. We go skiing and snowboard together for sure. Thank you, JJ.
Thank you. Great connecting.
You're the bomb. So it's always a pleasure to see you and chat with you.
Be sure to join me next time for more tools, tips, and techniques you can incorporate into everyday life to ensure you look and feel great and are built to last. Check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and my website, jjvirgin.com. And make sure to follow my podcast at subscribetojj.com so you don't miss a single episode. And hey, if you're loving what you hear, don't forget to leave a review. Your reviews make a big difference in helping me reach more incredible women just like you to spread the word about aging powerfully after 40. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Hey, JJ here, and just a reminder that the Well Beyond 40 podcast offers health, wellness, fitness, and nutritional information that's designed for educational and entertainment purposes only. You should not rely on this information as a substitute for, nor does it replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any concerns or questions about your health, you should always consult with a physician or other healthcare professional. Make sure that you do not disregard, avoid, or delay obtaining medical or health-related advice from your healthcare professional because of something you may have heard on the show or read in our show notes. The use of any information provided on the show is solely at your own risk.